Hello and welcome to the Combot Collective, the podcast covering everything you want to know in the world of robot combat, from Battlebots to the live circuit, from the heavyweight class to the fleetweight class. I am Sterling Brown, aka Courier 300th, forwarder writer at Third Law Sports and current Battlebots subwriter and moderator, along as being the current runner of the King of Draft Discord server. This is the Robot Ruckus 2021 analysis, and I am currently being joined along by my fellow US correspondent, Pory. How are you doing tonight, Pory? But yeah, this is Robot Ruckus 2021, our analysis for this first major event for heavyweight competition since Battlebots 2021. First American major event. Of course, we had Robots Live Crawley, but I'll get to that later. First, we're going to be running through the 12-pound and 30-pound weight classes briefly, taking a quick dive into some of the competitors this year that were really exciting, teams to watch as we go onward through the 2021 to 2022 live event season. And then we're going to be taking a deep dive into the heavyweight competition, going through each heavyweight competitor who are taking their own road as we approach Battlebots 2022 here later on in 2022. We did have some issues, though, keeping up with the footage for this event after the stream itself. It went down after a couple of days, so for a little bit there, we didn't have any footage to work off of. Hopefully that gets changed before we put out this video and do all the editing and everything for all of that. But I digress. We're going to be taking all the records for the heavyweight bracket of this event into account as we enter 2022 and publish our Combot Collective 2021 to 2022 heavyweight standings and our 2021 to 2022 live tour power rankings, which will be done by team rather than by robot, like the Battlebots ones we will be doing are. And after this episode, we will be coming at you periodically over various days this December and early January as we continue to break down every 2021 Battlebots competitor and our Battlebots Preview 8-part series. So yeah, it's going to be a busy couple of weeks here for us at the Combot Collective, but we hope you stick along and join us for every moment of it. And hopefully you can join us along as well in our Facebook or our Instagram, which we will have in our description below. And from there, you can find our Discord server and our Linktree. And along with that, you can find all the places you can find our show, our YouTube, our Spotify, our Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you can find your podcasts, really. And that's enough intro. That's enough talking from me. Let's start diving into the 12-pound to 30-pound, the smaller weight classes. And then we jump into the heavyweight class here. That's our itinerary. Let's go into Robot Ruckus 2021.
Welcome to the Combot Collective.
So here, Pory, before we start talking about some of the other divisions here, some of the bigger divisions, I do want to bring up with the small bots class and the entire small bots arena there. I did want to plan on covering it a little bit for this part here, but unfortunately when the Robot Ruckus streams went down for the big arena, they also went down for the small bots thing, so I didn't even get to see any of that at all because I was primarily watching the mainstream in the big arena during all this. But I do want to give a shout out to all the event winners. We'll have them listed on the website, on our social media pages fairly soon. And I want to give another shout out to Team X, come out of Florida, the guys that have Rampage and Battlebots. I know them well online. I've known them well online for a couple of years now. I know they brought numerous of robots to the events. They're a big family. They all love robot combat. And I'm happy to say that they did perform pretty well at the show. And now let's move on to the 12-pound class. So starting off here with some of the bottom robots in the field, I want to talk about Sandman first. This was a really unique robot. I like the shape of it, a little bit like Terminal Velocity of the middleweight class we've seen in recent years. But it really reminded me of Something Must Die coming out of Battlebots 3.0. Only televised event was the Jay Leno Rumble it had with the other school robots. Like I said, I like the unique weapon setup, but unfortunately it didn't have much effectiveness or reliability. I don't think it ended up winning a match, and it had some trouble in the Rumble. But I did like the robot, and hopefully we will end up seeing it in future events. Moving on now to another robot that reminded me a lot of classic era robots, kind of like Misty the Wonderbot and some other robots from that era with the two-wheel drive setup, was Little Junkyard Dog. Very colorful, and it was an impressive undercutter. Did some proper damage ripping apart and shutting down some opponents, but was just sort of in the middle of the field there, though. I did like the robot a lot. Hopefully we'll see more of it in the future. A robot, though, that did have some hype, that did finish kind of in that middling field with Little Junkyard Dog was Cannibal, the 12-pound version of it. Of course, this robot was slated to try appearing in the past two Battlebots seasons. Very similar, I should say, to the classic Wild Thing design from Robot Wars with the spinning disc and a Shremek/lifter arm up on the front. Unfortunately, this robot hasn't pressed too much for me so far in any iteration I've seen of it. This version, I think the blade only worked in the first fight, and after that, they were having issues for the entire event with it. That being said, though, at its core, Cannibal was a really solid wedge bot, and so it did have a decent run in the event. I think it did end up finishing with a winning record, or at least an even record, I do believe. And hopefully we will end up seeing it in Battlebots at some point, because I really do love it. I love the design of Cannibal. I love anything that really takes back to any Robot Wars design. And it's just a classic bulky wedge, which is very cool to see. And I don't know, I like the pink as well. So hopefully this robot can improve. I know it does appear in the Norwalk Havoc event coming up, the Norwalk Havoc Finals. So we will be covering it again fairly soon. A robot, though, that did have some good reliability with its weapon and its power was Lester, a Hobbyweight robot that reminded me of another Hobbyweight robot from back when I was a kid, going to Swark events back in the day, a robot called Chigger. I know some other older builders might remember that robot. It was really compact, really reliable, just like Chigger. Lester is here. And it had some of the biggest weapon impacts at the event. It really threw some robots around. Another middle-of-the-field robot in terms of finishing. But this is a really robot I'm very excited to see again. Really powerful beater bar. Hopefully these guys will come to the big arena at Norwalk, or maybe even Motorama, which I know is coming back soon. But now we move on here to some of the more popular robots and some of the bigger finishers of the event. One of my personal favorites, a very rudimentary looking robot coming out of this event. A wooden body, I believe, too, which is very fascinating. We're talking about Yield. Well, I love the weapon on this robot. It seems super reliable. It bounced everywhere. It was a fan favorite. I love the vertical spinning weapon as well. Like I said, it packed a punch. It showed durability and it showed real power. I really thought it was going to be a glass cannon or a joke bot in its first fight, but it ended up getting some serious wins. It, though, had a big issue in all of its fights, though, of course, digging into the arena floor. And as we know with the Robot Ruckus arena, it's a lovely arena, but it does have some floor issues. It isn't the sturdiest arena. It's no battle box for sure. But it was an absolutely fun robot to see fight in all of its matchups. And it held its own. And I think it might even won the Rumble. I might be incorrect on that, though. But totally stellar robot. Another robot that reminded me of Terminal Velocity, and probably my biggest favorite coming out of this entire event, this is a robot I would love to see brought up to a bigger weight class, was Dropkick. This guy probably had one of my favorite moments from the entire event. Early on in day one, Dropkick managed to knock out the eventual winner, Bobby, who we'll talk about here in a moment. And I believe it was a winners round 2 matchup. And after the match, the driver cut a whole promo saying that Robot Ruckus in Florida was like the top region and that all the Norwalk Havoc robots need to get out of here. And I was like, oh, this is just fun. I love a good bit of trash talk. So yeah, the builder's awesome. The team's awesome. I believe they have a social media, so look up Dropkick, 3-pound Robot Combat, Robot Ruckus on Instagram or on any social media. I'm pretty sure you can find this team. Probably still upgrading their robot. They talked a little slander on Norwalk Havoc, of course, I'm joking, but this is another robot I would love to see enter the 30-pound arena. Fight some of the big names that they usually bring up there for that weight class. But I thought this robot was going to be the winner coming into this event after seeing it fighting a few times. And I believe it had one split decision. Yes, right here. I don't remember who it was against, but they did have one split decision, which I really didn't agree with, that knocked them out of the winner's bracket a little too early. I believe it was winners round 3. I think that matchup ended up happening. But huge power from Dropkick in the same way yet Lester had some huge power coming out of it. very exciting robot to see in the field, and hopefully we'll see more of it because it's a shame they ended up missing top 3. While Dropkick was a bit more clunky in its design, something kind of like Revolution 3 or Terminal Velocity, like I mentioned earlier, Hellbender, another robot that just barely missed the top 3, was an incredibly sleek robot. I love the orange, kind of reminded me of Concussion from the UK scene. It was really consistent in the entire competition. It proved it had out of the arena potential, knocking one robot completely out of the box with its Drisk. Super exciting robot. It had some really impressive fights, especially one against, I believe, Instigator, the eventual runner-up, and all held its own. I think it got knocked out once, I believe, but yeah, fantastic driving by the team. The robot was super aggressive in all of its fights, but yeah, super consistent. Even reminded me of Tantrum to some extent. Hellbender is another robot, I believe. I believe this team's coming out of Florida, so I don't know when we'll see them come again, but hopefully we will see more of Hellbender. This is a robot I think will translate big time to a heavyweight class. Of course, this November weekend had the Norwalk Havoc November event as well, and as usual, Team Malice having a big presence at both of these events. Of course, bringing some 3-pound, 12-pound, 30-pound robots to the Norwalk event, but also having Grudge Frog here in the 12-pound class and a robot in the 30-pound class, which we'll get to later. Grudge Frog, really impressive. One of the only horizontal spinners in the weight class here. Held its own really well against a lot of those robots, but had some trouble against some of the vertical spinners. This bot, very similar to Malice. It is the all black with the red disc, but this one's more of a disc than the horizontal drum that we see on Malice. So the spot's a little bit thinner in its design, a bit more of a traditional bot, something like Supernova from Robot Wars or any other horizontal spinner along that regard. But definitely looked like a Team Malice robot, performed really well, huge destructive capability, ended up finishing 3rd with a solid record, stayed super aggressive in all of its fights. Super excited to see more of Grudge Frog in the future. I believe they have fought some in Norwalk as well, but I might be incorrect. But I'm sure we will be covering a good bit more of Grudge Frog as we move on through the 2022 year. Besides Dropkick, the robot that came 2nd place here, Instigator, probably my biggest favorite coming out of the event as well. Super excited by this robot. It looked absolutely fantastic. I love the theme. I believe that the team was representing the Florida Gators as well, the college, so it's always exciting to see college robots. Classic suplex bot ability in droves with this machine. It managed to throw robots out of the arena. It managed to tap out a robot, which is crazy to see out of a control bot. And they even managed to escape in and out of the arena, which was super cool. They had good flicking ability, so the robot even acted like a flipper in some regard. And the big thing was they had huge modularity. This team had a lot of the 12-pound class. You don't see many configurations coming out of it. It's not as much of a thought. But this team did have a huge anti-spinner plow, which got them a good bit of the way. They managed to take out Grudge Frog with it and a couple other robots, but did have some trouble with Billy. But I do believe they could have ended up winning that matchup if they did leave Billy alone there at the end. But I do digress. They ended up playing the sportsman role, freeing Billy, and ended up costing them, I think, in the final judge's decision. I believe that match went to a judge's decision. But this was probably the robot besides Dropkick that wowed me the most. Great modularity, fantastic driving, the way they managed to tap out robots. They were in control for pretty much all of their fights and up until their final few when the competition really stiffened up and the bot took a bit of wear and tear. I really want to see Instigator in more weight classes. I want to see a heavyweight Instigator. Bring a heavyweight Instigator to Robot Ruckus next year. I would beg of you if it could have the clampy, flippy ability that this one has, the modularity. Super excellent run. They could have had the title, but the title did end up going to Billy. Not Billy. Bobby, sorry. It's a bit of a mix-up as we now move on to our champion here. And, of course, the robot that ended up placing first, probably the most notable, most talked about robot coming into this event, a mainstay in the Norwalk Havoc League, and a robot we are very familiar with if you do watch those streams a lot. Of course, I just made the verbal mistake of calling it Billy. That's the 3-pound robot that is just as successful, if not more successful. But we're talking about Bobby here, the 12-pound version. It definitely seems to have the same destructive capability as a smaller brother and the same reliability. It landed destructive blows in all of its fights. I only got knocked out once to the aforementioned drop kick, which I was really excited. It's one of my favorite matches of the event. I played a lot of back and forth, though, with its wheels, of course, which is to be expected with how reliable they are. It did cost them some traction, though, And this wasn't like the Norwalk Arena. There was, of course, the lip, the out of the arena zone, a very narrow one, but one nonetheless for the smaller robots. And Bobby's wheels did get caught on them a handful of times throughout the event. And it ended up almost costing them in the finals against Instigator. But of course, Instigator, playing sportsman, freeing Bobby from its clutch. Um, it still was really impressive, though, this year. Of course, they ended up winning the event. They won the judges' decision after the comeback from being freed, landed some huge hits against Instigator, landed huge hits the entire event, the hits that we're expecting from Bobby and Billy and any robot that comes from this team. So huge congrats to them. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of them in 2022. We'll be covering a lot more of them in 2022, like a lot of these top robots here. As we now move on to the 30-pound class, the featherweight sportsman class, featuring a lot of unique robots. This year's Robot Ruckus 30-pound sportsman class, a bit smaller than usual and the smallest of all of our classes here. Only 5 robots competing this year, but they were all quite interesting in their own regards. Starting here with a robot that unfortunately went 0-3 this year, talking about Barracuda, which looked absolutely fantastic aesthetically. I love any solid brick style hammer bot with the good 4 wheels. That's why I really love Extinguisher's aesthetic. I'm glad that we were starting to see them perform a bit better. But talking about Barracuda here, this was its first showing, and I think they only landed 1 successful hammer blow the entire event. It was really unfortunate. It was a fantastic looking robot, a lot better than the preview picture on Builder's Database showed, but it suffered serious radio issues in literally all of its fights. I don't think it made it out of one fight without being knocked out. It couldn't get away from it at all. Ended up losing to both of the Martys, and I believe it lost to Banana Smash as well. So at least lost to the top 3 robots in the competition. There's no shame in that. But unfortunately, it did go 0-3 in total, and hopefully we will see it back with more reliability, because it was really exciting looking robot. It looked really beautifully done. It looked professionally done, really. It had a proper livery and everything. So hopefully there's more of a future to this robot as we now move on to some of the more interesting robots in this field. Talking first about the very fascinating Remains of Irma, which is probably a junk bot in the best way. The best way you can describe it, maybe not in the same way as Rusty, but this was very fascinating. Its weapon was a very slow spinning front mass, which I think had like one kind of tooth kind of looking thing on the front of it. It also had dog food bowls built into it, a license plate as well, some really bulky wheels. It was all built up and separated. It was operated like a robot, and it stayed reliable. I think it made it through all of its fights with the judges' decisions, but it didn't end up picking up a win. Had some troubles against both of the Martys, and didn't have much control at all. Did seem reliable though, like I said, very slippery drive though. Couldn't get pushing power at all during any of its matchups during those opponents, and I believe it even got flipped over once. So, Remains of Irma, very interesting robot. As we now move on to, in my opinion, the real stars of the 30-pound class here. Starting our top 3 off, of course, here with the son of Marty. Of course, this guy was in the very first fight of the 30-pound class against Barracuda, and before the 30-pound class even started, this robot was stealing the show. The team had brought it in on a whole carrying cart like this was a Battlebots competition. They even had 2 Martys prepared beforehand, which just shows that they were really serious about this goofy robot. It had a nice lifter module. It had a big cage so it could really overwhelm its opponents. And just like the other Marty bots, it had the big inflatable dude. I believe it had one that had a giant blue inflatable guy and one with a giant yellow inflatable guy. Both the robots were colored to fit the balloon. And this robot was just really exciting. It took some big damage against robots like Banana Smash, but it was just super exciting to watch this robot in action. It stayed reliable. I believe just like Remains of Irma, this robot failed to get knocked out, but it did manage to flip a couple robots over, just like Remains of Irma. And I believe it did flip over another robot in the duration of the competition. Son of Marty, a super exciting robot that I want to see in Norwalk, and I want to see compete in other big events because this robot was just an absolute blast. Even if you put it against spinners, I don't care. I want to see this thing fight. Son of Marty stole the show from me. Probably my favorite 30-pound bot this year. Moving on, though, to its father, the eventual runner-up of the competition. It did have a cute inflatable, though. I like the little trash can monster boy thing, whatever that thing ended up being. But it didn't seem as effective as its son, of course. It only had the little spinner, kind of similar to Remains of Irma, but a little bit smaller in duration, but a bit quicker. It did manage to beat its son, though. It did manage to beat Son of Marty in a match by being more aggressive. staying alive, staying super nimble. I do believe it did get knocked out against eventual champion Banana Smash, though, who we'll get to here in just a second. They did prove, though, it was a very solid, very nimble robot, eventually getting runner-up, and I'm sure we'll see more of this robot and Son of Marty in the future Robot Ruckus. And, of course, capping off here, we talked about how Malice really showed up this weekend. This was probably their crowning achievement, bringing Banana Smasher from another one of the members of the team. It was just a good event, all in general, for robots that were just themed about bananas, I guess. Of course, the big deal, winning the heavyweight title as Banana Runt. Here we have Banana Smasher, which was a very creative robot. Of course, it was just a boxy yellow bot, but I love the banana-shaped lifting arm. This robot was super fun in all of its fights, super well driven, super creative with its offense and its aggressive ability. Very compact and very quick as well. Showed some destructive potential in, like I said earlier, the Son of Marty fight where it managed to rip away at the big yellow robot, doing some proper damage. Well, one of the most destructive fights ended up being of the entire event. Of course, like I said, running with the Team Malice crew, big weekend for them. They managed to really add to that big trophy collection. Of course, we saw that in the Scorpius vlog. They have a huge trophy wall that they've only added more to. Another first place trophy for the team here. Hopefully, we'll see more Banana Smasher, especially in Norwalk. Maybe it's already competed there before and I've missed it. But yeah, congratulations to Banana Smasher, our 30-pound winner, a robot that I'm sure we'll see more of in the near future. As we now move on to what we're all here for, the heavyweight robot analysis. Now we dive into the heavyweight class for 2021's Robot Ruckus event. The first heavyweight live event in America since Robot Ruckus 2019, and the only heavyweight live event in America. Only heavyweight event besides Battlebots here as well. So it's obviously a very highly touted event, and usually we see a numerous amount of Battlebots qualifiers coming out of this event, so it's always exciting to keep up with these rookies and other robots that might be a little bit unproven coming into here. And a lot of teams that are trying to get the extra reps in to make themselves better. But we start here with the 0-1 robot. Robot that appeared, like I said, only once in the entire competition. We don't know why it didn't have a second fight. We assume it's because of radio issues. We're talking about New Jersey's own Forge and Farm Robotics and their machine Bale Spear in its third iteration coming into this event. Captained, of course, by Earl Pentecost III. One of the most entertaining builders, in my opinion. He really shined in the Bronco Bracket Bounty episode, I think, for Battlebots. And we don't know if he applied for Battlebots 2021, if he was denied, or if he just didn't do it. But we do know that this Bale Spear was built for this event. And it might be one of the last remaining heavyweight pokers in the competition, or even in the world.
Yeah.
Because I think there might have been one at King of Watts too, but who knows what the status of a lot of those teams are now. And of course, the Earl and the rest of the team does appear in Battlebots 2021 this year. They helped with fellow New Jersey team Blacksmith. But yeah, it was a very uneventful Robot Ruckus for Bale Spear. What are we thinking about this year's Bale Spear?
Yeah, I mean, it looked really good. It looked fun, but it got a tough first matchup. And, a big deal, obviously, the champion of the whole bracket was who it fought.
Yeah.
And there's not really shame to losing to Big Deal, or as it's called, Banana Run in this event. But
Yeah.
it's not really anything I would really, get too hard on. I don't know why they didn't fight again. Maybe there was technical issues on their end. It is what it is. And it's a shame because I do genuinely feel that there are robots in this competition that Bale Spear could have beaten. So,
Yeah, especially some of the newer teams like O'Reilly and Mad Dog. But it is unfortunate. I do think there had to have been some radio issues. It definitely looked like there was something going on at the end of that first fight. Already in those first few seconds, there was issues after the first flip. I officially at first thought the top panel loss was mostly cosmetic, but it definitely does look like it might have exposed a lot of the internal pressure system, of course, and that could have caused some serious woes. You don't want to go in there with a weaponless box, but it could have been a lot of things. But hopefully we do see them bounce back and recover. It would be a shame if that's the last we see of Bale Spear, especially after the wonderful 2020 season they had, made a good appearance in the bounty competition and all of that. Yeah, hopefully we will see more of them because I do love Bale Spear. I do love the team. Maybe in Motorama. I know that the team has appeared there before with a 30-pound robot. Maybe we'll even see it in Norwalk this year, upcoming calendar year. There's a lot of things this team can do, but I'm sure we'll still see them around
Yeah.
some capacity as they move from a robot that went 0-1 in this event to a robot that went 1-0 in this event as we cover Claw Viper.
Mhm.
Moving on forward here as we go from, like I said, the 0-1 robot to the 1-0. We're talking about Claw Viper here, who has a very unique case coming into this event, or I should say coming out of this event. 1-0 in the main competition, had a fantastic victory over Slammo with the brand new design it's brought. But ended up getting pulled out. Kind of got the Blendo Robot Wars treatment where it ended up being a bit too dangerous to compete. In its only fight, it did end up tearing up a lot of the arena floor and the walls. And but it proved to everyone that it is a badass robot this year with a lot of new things going on for it. The team was pretty secretive coming into 2021. A lot of people did not even know that they were going to be competing until the very end when their paint was kind of teased in the painting area of the Battlebots pits, and of course, soon after they would appear on the website. But yeah, everything's changed on this brand new Claw Viper. It's a brand new bot, still as fast as ever, of course. They've always had that speed ever since they were a siege breaker when they debuted in the 2019 Robot Ruckus. And it seems like they've honed that in a little bit better with this brand new design. So I'm pretty excited for what Claw Viper has to offer. It definitely offered quite a bit in this event with its only fight. And what do we think about Claw Viper this year? And don't answer that
I mean,
immediately.
it looks.
Well, sorry, one
Oh,
second. Bella started rolling around and going absolutely apeshit when I started talking, so I'm making sure she has calmed down. Are you good, Bella? You started bumping and thumping around. All right. Go ahead, sorry.
all good. Yeah, I think that Claw Viper definitely looks gorgeous this year. I mentioned as much in the preview episode,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I mean it looks great. I mean, I love Claw Viper. I want to see it do some suplexes. I want to go to Suplex City. And I love how fast it is. And honestly, its singular fight against Slammo was probably the best fight of the whole competition. That
Oh,
was a
for
banger
sure.
fight.
It's definitely up there. I think it was either that one or Big Dill and Extinguisher, the finals for me. Both those fights absolutely ruled. They were Battlebots quality for
Yeah,
sure.
they were very good. And I get why Claw Viper was asked to not continue because that arena is a little like wobbly.
It's a little
You don't
shoddy.
want to
They
hurt
can't
any
help it
audience
though. They do what
members.
they can. Yeah.
Yeah, and safety does come first, so I don't blame them at all. Plus, it was fun to just see the exhibition of it, just suplexing Big Dill and
Right.
stuff.
I'm glad they were able to get a bit more time in the arena with the new robot. But yeah, that was a
Yeah,
fantastic one. Definitely the best KO of the entire event was that perfect suplex onto the suplexer, Slammo 1.0. And absolutely fantastic fight all around, despite the damage to the arena. And a fantastic robot all around. We'll have to see if this is momentum they're carrying out of Battlebots 2021. And maybe they had a really good event, or maybe they had a really rough event. So that's just something we'll have to see as we move forward throughout the year. But yeah, 1-0 for Claw Viper coming out of Robot Ruckus. That's good for them. And hopefully we'll see more of them as we move on to the two robots that went 0-3. Our rookie robots here. And now, as we move on, we go to a very interesting robot from the 2021 Robot Ruckus event. A rookie, a robot that we earlier this year I was touting about, hopefully being one of the potential top flippers we can hopefully see in Battlebots, maybe in 2022 or 2023. They didn't have the best performance here, but the robot definitely does have some potential. We're talking about Mad Dog, who, like I said, applied for this year's Battlebots, did not get in with a very similar design. I think the design that they provided had a bit more armor, and it had a Mouse and Mecha Catbot style weaponized tail, if I remember right. It was a very cool looking robot.
yeah. I'm not
Um,
sure if it was weaponized, but there was a tail there for sure.
yeah, I hope it was because that's what I would have done with it. But anyway, I
Yeah,
digress. What they showed up with is not exactly that. It was definitely a bit more rudimentary, but this is a first time team, so I'm not going to give them too much slack for that. Like I said, they promoted it online as a college project, and they established a whole program for this robot. So there's definitely still more room for them. Um, it wasn't the best performer. What did you think of it?
I mean, it like you said, it has a lot of potential. I like the idea behind it. I like the fact that it has sort of the swerve drive system to it. I don't know if we
That's
saw that in
true.
action. but it is a
There
cool
wasn't much
concept.
striving in general with it, so I don't know. Probably
Yeah,
not.
so like I don't, maybe it worked, but just it didn't drive. Period. But yeah, I mean, it didn't have a great performance. Why they go 0-3 or something, and then it
Yeah,
had that
0
forfeit as well.
0-3 with losses to Slammo, Extinguisher, and Drift King. Yeah, then you have the forfeit to Orly. It was it was definitely a rookie performance.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, it's a new team,
It
new
is a new
people to the
team.
sport. Building their first heavyweight. You gotta cut them a little bit of a break at least.
Absolutely, I give him a little bit of slack. It definitely had a fantastic livery. I'm all about the warning stripes on a bot. Um, and they had a full team. They definitely had a loaded crew. They had about like 12 to 15 members of there, so definitely a lot of people learning. Great event to be under the learning tree too, because even teams that aren't competing, teams like Witch Doctor and Blacksmith are also
Mm,
there. Definitely pick their brains, so it's a fantastic event for that sort of thing. Um, Hopefully they do
yeah,
apply for Battlebots 2022. Maybe they will get in, maybe they won't. You definitely have a bit of a boost whenever you do show up to an event like this, and they show that hey, we do have a heavyweight robot. Check it out. Um, there's always room to grow. And maybe with a bigger field next year for BattleBots, we could see that. We definitely don't. I don't think we have any BattleBots teams from Michigan lately, so it would be good. And we know that they do like their college teams.
yeah.
But yeah, it definitely slowed down big time. I think by the time it fought Drift King, it wasn't moving at all. And like we said, it pulled out of the O'Reilly fight just before that happened. But it definitely had potential. It definitely had promise. Another robot, though, that had promise is that fellow rookie that we were just now talking about as we move on in our list here. Moving on here from a 1-0-3 rookie to a robot that maybe kind of technically went 1-3, but we're not counting it since it was a forfeit. 0-3 on our records. We're talking about a very interesting robot here, a robot that had quite a bit of attention on social media from the Robot Combat community. I know on our TCC Instagram page we were posting about its build progress quite a little bit before this event ended up going down. We're talking about Orly or O'Reilly or however they choose to pronounce it. It's a very fascinating robot. The first ever build from this team, not and Robot Combat in general. They've never even built like a small class robot. Um, and it's also the first heavyweight smother bot to compete since Megatento back in 2016. It uses pretty much the same concept as Megatento, except with a turtle kitty pool instead of a ladybug pool. And like Megatento, it does have a spinner on the back, but instead of the spinning disc, it is a friction spinner, which is pretty much just a giant wheel. But it did get a little bit of use, not too much. It was a very fascinating robot. It certainly didn't perform too well. It went 0-3, had two judges' decisions losses and a KO, one of which it got finessed by Slammo, put into a weird little spot. It was an interesting run, though, for the rookie team. I think it might have underwhelmed, but there's only so much you can expect from a robot like this. What did you think about Orly, the turtle boy?
Um, I mean, much like Mad Dog, again, it's like, rookie team, first heavyweight build, from what I understand, and you got to give them credit for what they did, and the fact that
It was a
also
blast to watch,
I
yeah.
I want to say Mad Dog was 0-3 with 3 knockouts, right?
It had one JD. Its very first fight, it kind of
One
struggled
one
along.
JD.
Slammo
Okay,
kept,
so
but Slammo also was nice. I think it like saved it once or twice.
yeah, but like Orally made it to the judges twice. I mean, it survived 2 fights, so that's at least something that you should commend for sure. And I mean, I like the
Yeah.
unique robot of it. Like, I feel like a refined version would definitely be a welcome addition to BattleBots, because I feel like there should be a void where Tento is that could be filled. And
Mm-hmm.
I like this robot design.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a robot design that needs to be represented in that weight class again. I think there is a British robot that's a smother robot. It's like a cat theme, but I don't remember the name of it. There's no other smother bots though, to my knowledge, at least not right now. And it did smother. It definitely got some smotherage going on. I think it captured Piranha once, and it captured Drift King a handful of times during its fights. Uh, I think that in the Drift King fight, it was also the one that managed to make a little bit of use of that friction spinner on the back, though. That was definitely more of a wheelie part than anything. Um,
Yeah.
Very interesting robot, though, and a robot that And maybe Battlebots will give the green light too. I definitely think it has a better shot than Mad Dog, but maybe not as good of a shot as the other rookie that appeared in this event we'll bring up later. Uh, excellent performance though. If you're just looking to have a good time, and it definitely showed up. It definitely made itself notable. Um, it was just a good time. I was excited to see them after all the hype and the build up. I was even a little worried for a while there that they weren't going to get ready in time because it looked a bit rough in construction. Not rough in construction, but I thought they were behind for a little while on their Instagram feed. But no, I mean, they're a fantastic team, and it's a fun robot, and hopefully it won't be the last we see of it. Maybe not even in the end of the year. So we'll have to see. Moving on here from our 0-3 robots to our only 1-2 robot in this event. It is an interesting situation here. One of two robots the Team Danby has brought to this event. It is the team's number 3 heavyweight, of course, behind their main U.S. heavyweight Slammo, and the robot we usually see running in the U.K. Apex. So it is Predator, of course, the robot we saw fighting in Battlebots 2018, Robot Ruckus 2019. Still rocking the silver from the 2019 Robot Ruckus appearance, with a bit better reliability, like we saw from that event. Primarily fighting in each of its fights as a clamper instead of a lifter. The team does have a little bit of benefit with this robot since it's not trying to qualify for any major event or even make an appearance or anything like that. They can be a bit more lax by running Predator, having it just be a bit more of a focus for trying to win the championship and having good quality fights. Of course, Team Danby has plenty of robots, but it is exciting to see so many of them running right now in those three. But yeah, Predator was a very interesting competitor this year. Like I said, 1-2, had a defeat against Extinguisher by JD, victory against O'Reilly by JD, and then lost to the rookie Drift King by a knockout. What do we think about Predator's performance this year?
I mean, it did okay. I mean, it did better than I anticipated it to do.
Same, definitely.
I mean, it did fine. I mean, I like Predator. I think that it's a cool robot, and
Right,
for being a 3-year-old robot at this point, it did fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially it hasn't had the most appearances, of course, hasn't had the most fights, but it stayed consistent. It's mostly banked off that fight it had with Mammoth in 2019 at Robot Ruckus, which was probably the best fight from that event. But it had a respectable little showing here. It only got knocked out in that last fight against Drift King, where Drift King was just able to wear it down. It was slam after slam. Almost got thrown over the wall a couple times by Drift King's power, but ended up going down and out in the final minute of the fight. But yeah, Predator, it held pretty good. It managed to take a bite out of Orly a couple times. It's really sturdy against Extinguisher's brand new axe, which had the spike tip at that point. Took all those impacts well. It certainly was decently driven, and definitely was a good performance by Predator. It probably might have been one of its best events yet. It was definitely either that or the 2019 Robot Ruckus, but I don't remember the record it had coming out of that. Moving on forward now from the robots with a losing record to our set of robots that have an even record. We're going on to Axe Backwards here, who had a very interesting event. Only fought twice, going 1-1. An already interesting year for Axe Backwards. They started off the year, of course, absent from Battlebots, which is a bit interesting. First time they've been absent in 3 seasons, and it's unknown if they applied and maybe got rejected, or if they dropped out, or if they just flat out just didn't choose to appear this year. Hopefully, whatever's going on with Kurt Durgin and the rest of that crew is all good, and hopefully this wasn't the last event for Axe Backwards. But they are in a bit of a weird spot right now, staying relevant in the Battlebots and Live Tour. They have a current televised record of 1-10, which is very rough, but they have managed to stay very relevant, fairly relevant at least, rocking the Barbarous style full body drum. And but they were running the Sportsman configuration for this event with the Plow Wedge and the Overkill or Chimera style thwack axes, which they even looked like they were reinforced for this event compared to the last time we saw them. And yeah, they had a fascinating little run. What did you think of Axe Backwards and its 2 battles with Wedgebots?
I mean, Axe Backwards definitely. I mean, I got a win.
It did manage 1 win, which is good.
I'm happy that Axe Backwards got that win. That made
Yeah.
me very happy to see. I mean, it should have beaten Deviled Egg. Let's be real here.
Yeah, that's okay. It
Still
did
mad
get
about
gypped
that
there.
3 years later.
It should be 2-9 at the very least, and they did get
Yeah.
gypped in that one. But they didn't get gypped in that Drift King fight. In fact, they did land a few good solid axe strikes, which was the big thing. I think they had problems with that 2019 Robot Ruckus event when they were running this setup. They figured out how to use the momentum. They had some trouble being aggressive
Yeah.
early on, but they did manage to figure out the weight distribution, landing 2 or 3 strikes in that fight, and not many in the Piranha fight because they got bullied pretty badly in that one. In fact, I think Piranha managed to knock out one of the sides of its drive, which is impressive for a wedge bot. But
Oh yeah, definitely.
that's definitely
I want to see AxiB come back to BattleBots, though. Let me just say.
yeah, same. You gotta have. I mean, it's like it has the same charm as a bot like Blip, or really like we were talking about, where it's the only robot in the heavyweight class that runs this design. You gotta have it around for the sake of
Yeah.
variety.
Mhm.
There's still a lot of things that Axe Backwards has to do to remain a contender or to be a contender in the first place with Robot Combat. But I mean, we see bots like Gigabyte and yeah, probably mainly just Gigabyte right now really succeeding as a full body weapon. There's no reason to believe that Axe Backwards can't figure out that same situation, or some team can't figure that out with a full body drum. Because in theory, it should be a thing that should be fairly easy, or like not easy. That's not the right word.
It should be
But
doable.
like it's doable. It takes everything that is good about the horizontal spinner, full body spinner, I should say, shell spinner, and you add the qualities of the vert to it. But
Definitely.
evidently hasn't been perfected yet. But the team does have very good driving with the plow configuration. They showed that in these fights, but no clue why they bowed out after one loss. This entire Robot Ruckus bracket's a bit confusing. The 4th place robots 2 and 3, and the 5th place robots 2 and 2. But what are you gonna do? As we move forward here. Final thoughts. Hopefully we do see them again. Hopefully, maybe we'll even see them bring this setup to a BattleBots, because I definitely do like the plow setup and the overhead axes. And I definitely do think they were onto something with the wedge setup they ran against Shredder Raider at BattleBots in 2020. So we'll have to see what the future lays for Axe Backwards. It had a respectable showing here. Definitely, it didn't have the losing record. At least they managed to get a win on the board, and they're 1-1 in the 2021 to 2022 calendar. As we move forward to another wedge bot here. Now moving on to the robot that I guess finished 5th place unofficially. It was never given any title or anything like that. But we're talking about Drift King, the robot that finished 2 and 2 in this event. It was the 2018 Hypershock, purchased by a different team. Not part of the Hypershock lineage officially, even though it does very much look like it. Though I do like the blue design it has with the completely flat top, totally weaponless, but still very sleek, very fast. And I believe Hypershock crew members did end up helping with the robot a little bit during this event, like Kyle Honor, who's always been an awesome guy to me, and I think a couple other people. But Drift King was a very fascinating robot. I think it was just picked up by a team just to have some fun with some fights. But it definitely looked like a pretty solid robot. Had trouble knocking it out. It took Big Dill completely throwing it over. Very aggressive, very nimble. What did you think of Drift King, Pory?
I thought it was a fun robot. I mean, obviously it wasn't anything that they were taking too seriously. Like, you aren't going to see Drift King, like, enter BattleBots or anything. But for what it was, it was fun just to watch it in the arena. I like the blue. It's a cool robot.
Yeah. I mean, they managed to knock out Predator. Managed to knock out Mad Dog. So, you're going to finish off. You're going to go with 2 JD losses. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. 1 judge's decision loss and 2 knockout wins. It's definitely a good little look. It wasn't driven horribly. It was definitely aggressive, definitely powerful. It's nothing better than getting your first career win by KO. And it was very interesting to see a fight. And its very first fight against Axe Backwards, it inexplicably pooped out a drill midway through the fight. I don't know what that could have been. I thought it was a weapon drill, like driven by a drill power, but this isn't 2003, so I have no clue what that could have came from. Just maybe it's just a debris weapon or
That's
something.
just what happens when robots poop. They just poop out like power tools and stuff.
I can just imagine some of the Hypershock team being like, "Oh, that's where that went. That's where we forgot that." While they were fixing up for the very first fight. But now it was definitely entertaining. Managed to take out Predator with sheer force. Mad Dog was already barely moving at that point, but a win's a win. And like I
Yeah.
said, held up against Big Dill, even though it had a lot of catch points that Big Dill was managed to exploit in that fight with the wheels and the wedge and all of that. Um, it was an exciting Robot to see fight. Hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully we'll see it in future Robot Ruckuses, and maybe they'll even make a new heavyweight, something to build off this, like a proper Drift King, like we've kind of seen with other robots, kind of evolve the name title into like a more serious design, like Kraken,
Yeah,
because
that'd
I
be
guess is a
cool.
good example.
Mm-hmm.
Another team that we might be seeing doing that is a robot that unofficially finished fourth. Our next robot coming up. Now, like I said, moving on to the robot that placed fourth, which is like I said, a bit weird. Has a 2-3 record and got fourth over the robot that did 2-2. But I'm not the judge here. It is a robot that really impressed me during this event, especially for how basic it appears initially. We're talking about Piranha coming from Jason Rogers with a couple of wins here. It was a robot originally. Some people might know this, probably not many because it's changed so much from that appearance. It appeared in Robot Wars Extreme Warriors with Team Logicom as Spin Doctor, where it had the horizontal spinner. And it appeared in every Extreme Warrior series, and then appeared in the live tours as Bambulance as a wedge bot until 2005, where it then retired for a while. It was scheduled to appear in the 2014 StemTech Olympiad as a competitor, but the team showed up with Shred Raider instead and opted to use Spin Doctor as a demo bot. And the team recently sold Spin Doctor off now to Jason Woods, who made it made it Piranha, the basic wedge bot here. And like I said, it really impressed me in this event. Of course, its schedule was it lost to Slammo by JD, beat Aurelie by JD, beat X backwards by KO. Lost to eventual champion Big Dill on the judge's decision, and then lost to Extinguisher on a knockout. So, two of your losses against the top two robots, you're looking really good. It was super well driven. What do you think of Piranha from this event?
It was a very impressive robot. I mean, it was super well driven, and I mean,
Crazy driven.
when your three losses are literally to the top three robots in the
That's true. They
competition, that's
were.
pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely stood out. I don't know who drives Gruff. I think it's Sam McCamus, but
Yeah, I think so.
Jason Woods definitely stood out as a really impressive robot, and he was super helpful when I was doing the Combot Collective info sheet. I think he shared it around to a few people that were in the community. So shout outs to Jason Woods. I'm glad you had an awesome event. Hopefully we see more of you because I feel like Piranha is one of those robots that you can rebrand. You look at Team X who had You Go Nowhere, which was a basic wedge bot at Robot Ruckus. And the only reason why they couldn't appear this year was because apparently teams had to select between the big arena and the small arena, which is a bit silly, but I digress. They were able to turn just those basic appearances and that consistency into being on Battlebots now for 2 seasons. They have Rampage in 2020 and 2021. And this team already has Gruff in the main competition. So, maybe we can see Piranha maybe branch out and become a more serious robot, maybe a new lifter from the team, or maybe something completely different. Because, like I said, it definitely impressed with this event. There was one controversial moment that I didn't like in the Extinguisher fight where it was propped up, and I don't think this is anyone's fault really from the team side.
Yeah.
But in the Extinguisher fight, there was a count out where Piranha was propped in the corner on the wall, and the ref started counting while Extinguisher was still attacking. But Piranha was just sat there for a while, and like by the time Extinguisher backed off, the ref was already like 4, 3, 2, 1, and literally the second that after the count out, Piranha freed itself, and unstuck itself, I should say. So it would have been fine, but it was already counted out. I mean, it wouldn't have changed the result much, I don't think. It was definitely a fight. Extinguisher was dominating. Wow, those
Yeah.
things always are like little pet peeves for me, at least. It didn't take anything away, though, from the performance. Its knockout on X backwards was really impressive with how aggressive it was, backing up, ramming forward, backing up, ramming forward. It definitely showed like it has competitive potential, probably more so than any new robot that we saw in this event.
Definitely.
Really excited about Piranha, and hopefully it's a robot we'll see plenty more as the years go on. And now we're going to talk about our top 3 robots. It's a very fascinating top 3 robots of nothing but veterans and robots that kind of never really got a good squeeze. One of them made the top 32 last year, but it's a good group as we move forward here. Moving on to the robot that finished 3rd in this event with a 3-2 record. A robot that managed to make a lot of use out of a lot of issues during this whole competition. As Craig Danby himself called this robot a piece of crap. Those weren't my words, those are his. I thought it performed respectfully well because this is Slammo, specifically Slammo 1.0. There were some unforeseen reasons that the Slammo, the 3D style Slammo that we see in Battlebots 2021 this year, not able to show up. So the team showed up with the classic Mobot style Slammo, the one that made top 32 in Battlebots 2020, the one that tied for first in Robot Ruckus 2019. And it definitely performed. You know, Craig Danby showed that even with a busted robot for half the event, he still had excellent driving. He still managed to make the most out of all of his fights. He got knocked out by Claw Viper, of course, at the very start, who ended up pulling out afterwards. And that fight seemingly took out all of its weapon power for the rest of the event. And after that, they went on a hot streak. They beat Mad Dog. They beat Orly. They took care of those rookies. Then losing the big deal before taking out the other rookies. So these guys were really just the big rookie killer of the event in Piranha. Finishing 3-2, like I said, managing a 1 KO victory. Could have had 2 if they left Mad Dog alone, I believe. And it was a pretty solid event for Slammo 1.0, despite the issues that they had and how Craig Danby felt about everything. What do we think about this cameo? Not really cameo appearance, but an unexpected appearance by the older version.
Yeah, I mean, for being, I don't think Slammo's a piece of crap at all. I love Slammo. I love going to Suplex City.
Same, yeah.
And,
You can't rag on this bot,
robot.
man. I love it too much. I love the
Great.
green and white.
Craig Danby's great. He's a good
Danby
egg,
rules.
and it's just it was nice to see, and it was nice to see Slammo with a W place in the bracket. Like getting 3rd place, like that. That's awesome to me. I'm really very happy for them, and they did very well. And I hope that Slammo without the W can, relay some of that success into this upcoming BattleBot season.
Right, with the brand new design, which I am so excited for. This thing looks like
it's fresh.
It's fresh as hell. It's easily the most spectacular thing Craig Danby has made. He's always had a very specific style with his robots. Very not boxy, it's not the right word. Very compact, though, kind of following the same template, with the small wheels built with the same base. This is not a complete 180 to what he usually builds, but it's definitely a bit of a style contrast. This new Slammo we're seeing at Battlebots 2021. But that's more saved for the Battlebots preview, as we had old Slammo at this one, and partway through the event, when the weapon broke down, they added a cosmetic setup for what was it? It was like a set of fangs, paper fangs on like some like mesh tubing, and they had like some cable around the forks to keep it like locked together. So yeah, Danby was just having fun with it. But go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, despite all the wacky modifications, it seemed to serve the robot pretty well.
Yeah, it just shows the driving ability that Craig Danby can bring to every single fight, because even this was probably Big Dill's toughest challenge to this entire event was a weaponless, outdated Slammo 1.0, because Slammo kept to Big Dill the entirety of that fight. To be fair, Big Dill actually saved it in the opening seconds. It probably could have left it on its side there and had that fight over in 30 seconds, but it freed it. And from that point onward in that fight, Slammo stayed alive and just stayed in the mix. It shoved Big Dill into a couple of walls and managed for the most part avoid getting lifted. It definitely had a respectable performance. And Team Danby, they're on quite a hot streak, probably the biggest hot streak they've had in their 20-year tenure in Robot Combat. They tied for first at Robot Ruckus 2019, like I said. They made the playoffs and made themselves a regular component in Battlebots. And they added to it here. 3rd place finish, took home the bronze trophy. And I'm super happy with how Slammo 1.0 performed. We will be separating them on the Combot Collective Heavyweight Standings board, kind of like how Iron All gets the treatment. If two of the same robot appears, like in opposite iterations, we'll count them as split robots. But yeah, that's Slammo, our third place robot. As we now move on to our top two, the two finalists to put on a spectacular fight here in the Robot Ruckus finals. Moving on now to the robot that placed second in the 2021 Robot Ruckus Heavyweight Tournament. A robot that I believe really needed this win, in my opinion. It's a robot it's a team that's always been affiliated with Robot Ruckus ever since they started doing these heavyweight tournaments. We're talking about Quicksilver Robotics, of course, and Extinguisher, who seemed fully ready to fight for Battlebots 2021. The team posted plenty of configurations and setups over the summer and spring, showing off what they had planned for this new Extinguisher. And for some reason, seeming reasons unknown, the team did not appear at Battlebots 2021. We don't know if they were denied. We don't know if they dropped out like X backwards, but we knew that the intention was there. And details to why have not surfaced yet, so who knows? But they did bring some upgrades to this event, despite the sportsman rules. Of course, they have the brand new weapon. They have the brand new axe, which now has the spike on the end. Of course, inspired by Dead Blow, as the team states. And along with that, they have a brand new anti-torque mechanism in the axe itself, which is designed to help the hammer accelerate while keeping the bot on the ground during impacts. And we saw a good bit of that in its run this year. Of course, like I said, it ended up going 3-1. It got a victory on Predator by judge decision, knocked out Mad Dog, and put a lot of holes in that robot. Knocked out Piranha before finally facing Big Dill and taking the loss. Excellent performance by this team. They needed it. Well, what are you thinking about Extinguisher this year?
It looked really good, and like you said, that's kind of what they needed. I mean, I don't know what happened. I don't know if they got rejected or if they just dropped out of the BattleBots competition, but I was looking forward to seeing them because I feel like Extinguisher has a lot of potential, and they reached some of that potential at this event by getting some pretty good wins and showcasing that works pretty good.
Oh, for sure. I always saw them when they were coming out of the end of the 2020. They seemed to have figured out their reliability a little bit. They survived against Valkyrie to the very end, and I mean, they didn't get knocked out once in this event. Obviously, it's a sportsman event, so that's a little bit easier. But the hammer was a real deal. It stayed incredibly powerful all the way until that last fight where it started dying out the power a little bit against Big Dill. But it's like I said, they put proper holes into Mad Dog. And even though the axe did get neutered halfway through the event, I believe it might have been the Mad Dog fight, in fact, where the axe itself, the new point that they added, finally popped out, and they had to switch back to the other hammerhead. Yeah, but it was aggressive. They never broke down. All their fights were super entertaining. This was definitely the event they needed to stay relevant because they were definitely in a situation a lot like X backwards, I would say, where you've been around for a hot minute, but what have you done for us, kind of thing. You need a big event, and you need a capitalized event, a hallmark event to really show, hey, we did this. 3 rookies have been not 3 rookies, the last one. 3 proper robots, Piranha, Mad Dog, Slammo, all knocked out, all taken care of. You lose to the eventual champion in a dramatic fashion. It was a fantastic fight. It's definitely a performance that Battlebots has to look at for 2022 and be like, okay, maybe we did accept them, maybe we didn't last year, but they definitely performing, and this is what we need to see come back, especially now that they've worked on this vertical spinner configuration, maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll see a lot more from these guys, as long as they don't bring back the Siren. Can't say I like the Siren.
I want the
Siren wears me out. No,
I'm not gonna lie, I really do.
Oh no! They were way too excited about that little thing at first. I have my Extinguisher story, but I digress. That thing wore me out when I saw it live during that rumble, the ill-fated rumble. I legitimately thought that there was like an emergency happening outside the arena. It was so bad, but no, Extinguisher You don't need a siren when you're putting up a performance like that, putting holes in robots, looking exciting, driving over opponents, losing to the champion, getting second. It's what the team needed, and hopefully we'll see more of Extinguisher and Quicksilver robotics as the year progresses. And now, last but certainly not least, we move on to the event champion, a robot that dominated this event. 5-0 with a whole handful of knockouts. This was just a good event for robots that have banana themes. We saw Banana Smasher win the 30-pound class with the greatest of ease. We saw Marty, who looked like his little balloon boy setup looks like a banana. It placed second. And now we have Big Dill, who went as Banana Runt during this event. We've just been saying Big Dill for the sake of clarity. Rocking the all yellow, which is a livery that definitely grew on me big time as this event played out. Very ripe, as they'd say. And it's fresh off Battlebots 2021 with an unknown result. But unlike a lot of the robots we've seen in this event, this team has already made big changes to the robot. Coming into this event, post Battlebots 2021, where they have added a new lifting actuator that they didn't use in the event under Big Dill's name. And it definitely showed in this. It looked awesome up until the point there they burnt it out. But we'll get to that in a second. It was definitely one of the favorites coming in. It tied for first at Robot Ruckus 2019 due to the arena issues. And eventually ended up placing first here. Victories in the order. It beat Bale Spear. It beat Drift King. It beat Piranha. It beat Slammo. It beat Extinguisher. Literally took number 4, number 3, number 2 out in order. Beat pretty much half of the field. And probably definitely could have beat the rest of the field. What do we think of our new champion, Pory?
It blew me away. It was really good. I mean,
it's
5-0, dominated. It took out everyone, and realistically, I don't think there was a robot there that could have beaten it. And at least not maybe like one of the ones that fought. Like maybe if like Extinguisher got like a lucky hit or something. But
maybe Extinguisher
like all the robots
earlier in the event. Because Extinguisher definitely had weapon issues. It was definitely like running a bit tired by the end of that.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't see anyone beating Banana Runt in this competition. Like it definitely went above and beyond, and I'm glad that they're a part of BattleBots, and I look forward to seeing them in BattleBots.
Yeah, no, they definitely raised their stock. They showed everyone, hey, tune in Discovery because this is the robot you're gonna go see out there. For the most part at least. Maybe one minor part, major, not minor. Fairly big part has changed, but it's still just one part has changed. And speaking of that part, they ended up having to bring it out for the finals because in the Slammo fight and the semifinal fight against Slammo, they burnt out that actuator that they brought specifically for this event. And a Big Deal had to run a lot of that fight just as a push bot, much like Slammo had for most of the event. So they did switch it out. They switched out that gearbox for the following fight, and it was rocking the green lifter for the finale. But I mean, Big Deal just performed so excellently. We saw it hoist Drift King in the air. We saw it hoist Extinguisher in the air. It pretty much did a whole suplex on Extinguisher. It ripped apart Bale Spear, and it was just. Like I said, it was dominant. I really can't think of another robot that could have put it up. You know what? If it fought Claw Viper in a proper fight, that would have been something. But Claw Viper was a bit more nippy than Big Dill, so that ended up costing it in terms of the event. But yeah, Emmanuel Carrillo, we've seen him on Mad Catter. We've seen him now running his own team with this, and we're going to see him plenty in 2021 BattleBots because he's also going to be doing stuff with Jaeger. And Mad Catter probably. It's awesome to see this guy represent Western Allied Robotics. He literally brought this robot cross country because he's a Seattle team to compete here, and he showed up. He took the gold, and he took the gold easily. I would say, raising his stock big time in 2021, and even more so for BattleBots 2022. This is someone who took being a COVID rookie, took advantage of the situation. Had a respectable run in 2020 where they managed to put up wins against Adam 94 and Perfect Phoenix, formerly known as Brutality, and now they've really translated it into being probably one of the top lifters in all of Robot Combat right now.
Oh yeah, 100% agree.
So it's definitely going to be very exciting to see how they add on to that win-loss record and that total. They would probably be one of the American robots with the most fights when it's all said and done in this little calendar year. As we start capping it off here, we're once again, congratulations to Big Dill, first place at Robot Ruckus, and maybe keep the yellow because everyone seems to really like the yellow. Maybe even change the name. I like the Banana Runt name a lot. So there's definitely a lot of good vibes with this new Big Dill. And yeah, that settles it here. Thank you for sticking around with us here. We've now made it to the end of our Robot Ruckus 2021 analysis. We've tackled the 12-pound, 30-pound, and heavyweight classes. And our event analysis will continue on as we will cover, like I said, Robots Live Crawley and the recent Robots Live event that happened in Saudi Arabia over the coming week. But in the meantime, our Battlebots preview series is also going on right now, and you can check out the first of these few episodes and the upcoming episodes on our YouTube page. And of course, as we said earlier, the records from these heavyweight events will be counted on in our heavyweight standing sheet, which we'll be putting out for the 2021 through 2022 calendar. And you can expect robots like Big Dill, Eruption, and Switch to be on the top of this page early on. And of course, talking about those live events, we will have the live events power rankings and standings coming up as well, which we may need help from the community collecting some event results since August 2021 to today. But I believe we can get a lot of these results documented. This can be a proper source for teams and fans to use to see who's really dominating in terms of event wins and event totals as we move on through the year.
Totally.
Heck yeah. It's going to be a bit of an undertaking, but I look forward to setting all that up and hopefully putting out a few more tools for the community to use, a few more charts, a few more lists. That's what we want to do here in the Combot Collective, bring some stats to it all. But as we start moving on out here, this has been Sterling Brown here. You can find me on Instagram at SterlingTXTG and in numerous other adventures in 2022 that I'm looking forward to. And here with me has been my U.S. correspondent and a guy who's really helped me along the way so far here, Pory. Do you have anything you want to plug before we roll out here?
Yeah, I mean, you can look up my YouTube channel, www.dippyegg.xyz, and you can follow me on, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Pory Nog, all one word.
Heck yeah. Definitely follow his YouTube page. He recently hit his 500 subscriber mark, and we want to see that grow along with the TCC channel itself. But yeah, this has been Orlando Maker Faire, Robot Ruckus 2021. We wore the beach gear. I got the party hat. I got the birds on the shirt. It was a good time. And now we're rolling out here. Our outro music and intro music you're hearing right now was done by our team member, Sevalent. You can, of course, watch, download, rate, and review our podcast and show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you find our podcasts. You can follow what the Combot Collective is doing next on our Facebook and Instagram, and through that you can find our Linktree and join our Discord community. And yeah, this has been the Combot Collective for our first event analysis, first of many as we move on to 2022. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
This was the Combot Collective. Find us on Instagram and Discord.